It's not a usual thing for me to speak in front of so many people, so bear with me. Right. My talk is really about the stories behind everything that I've bought. And it gives me sort of great pleasure to sort of share that with you. Right. Oh, well, we know all that. Now, just to tell you something about myself, I am from Belgium. You probably heard it as soon as I said one word. I trained as a dietitian, but really this was very boring stuff to make people lose weight. And then I became a flight attendant. I thought that was brilliant. Met my husband, had 2 kids, and then did something wrong with the mic, I think, but never mind. And then did some pharmaceutical market research for quite a while. But then I discovered property, just a 2-hour seminar, and I was hooked. I did it with some wrong people, so then finally I met Simon Zucchi in 2008 and asked to be on his mastermind program. In those days he said, "You've got to have an interview with me, dear girl, to see if you're suitable." And I said, "Please, please." Anyway, I got him and was one of and I'll turn that here. I was one of the best nominated from that course. I didn't win it because basically there were much better ones than I did. But this was 2008, 2009, and it was really hard work. But just before we finished, Simon phoned me up and he said, "Well, what did you do?" And I said, "Well, I got about £910,000 worth of property and an income which wasn't very great at that time, about 20,000. So he said, "Well, I think you should be in one of the best performers." So I was really chuffed with that because I am an action taker. Now, here it is. In 2010 or 11, I decided to go full-time. So I packed up my other sort of pharmaceutical market research, which was also boring at that time. I love things, but only for a certain amount of time. I'm a star creator. You go quickly over to the shiny pennies further down. I got up to 31 properties, and sold 3. One which wasn't making any money and had voids and everything, so I sold it quickly. The other one was a flip, which I will talk to you about. That was my first real flip. I got it really at a very good price, but then my builder spent too much. So I only made 16% for my investor and 11% for another investor. Here it is. In 2013, Simon Zucchi asked me then to take over the Cambridge KIC. And that has been a steep learning curve because of being talking in front of groups just like you. We are not as many, so quite a nice little group. But it has been a revelation really because I can see the problems that other people have. For me, they are not problems, but other people are much better at some things that I just am rubbish at. Cold calling is not my thing, so it makes it really difficult for me. Now, I want to talk to you why I think that it's so magical to be investing in property. And there are 3 magic ingredients in my opinion. Here they are. Leverage, I think that was the American pronunciation. Inflation, and you're going to think, why on earth is inflation good for property investors? And time. Well, time, I think everyone knows what it is and why it's going to be good. But leverage is really, I found this definition, technique to multiply gains. And that's brilliant. Because what can you leverage? You can leverage banks who are going to give you the money to buy the property. You only have to give them or purchase the property with 20 or 25% of your own money or joint venture partner money. And then, of course, you have the tenants paying your mortgage. So where can you lose here? This is absolutely fantastic. I didn't really know anything about mortgages previously. I was quite lucky in that sense. But now I really feel the importance of having mortgages and what they can do for you. Now, inflation, that means a rising price over time. Why is that also good for property investors? Because it's really going to participate in the debt erosion. So you have £100,000 property. Okay, this is probably not a good example for you in London. I should say £1 million, but it's going to make it easier for me of £100. So £100,000 property, you have £75,000 worth of mortgage, £25 worth of deposit. Now, any of your debts, because you are going to buy with an interest only, I think most of you will. Who is buying with a repayment mortgage at the moment? Buy to let. So not many. So, but most of us are doing it with an interest only because it makes more sense. We can then invest the rest to buy more properties, right? And so the debt erosion, who knows what this £75,000 debt is in about 10 or 20 years? Maybe it might just be, 3 months' salary. Who knows? But I'm hoping so, that we're going to have a little bit more increase in prices. And usually in the last 60 years at least, property prices have increased more than inflation. Of course, inflation is very low at the moment. Is it 1.2 here in the UK? It's in deflation in the Eurozone. So that is not going to help us personally. So I'm hoping for a little bit more inflation. However, I don't really want to put more gas in my, or have an expensive tank of gas. Now, time, why is that important? Because really, I find it, buying property is a little bit like, if you make a mistake, it's a bit like having a bad haircut. It doesn't really matter. 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, there is no problem. You won't see it anymore. Of course, you do have to buy in good locations. That's the most important, because if you have a rental void, that's going to cost you. However, there are many other ways to do it. You have tenant buyers. You have different creative ways, strategies that you can apply. Now, for me also, it determines the house that I'm going to talk to you about as well, the little flip. I wanted to do a flip on this one. I just wanted to try. Remember, I get bored quickly, so I have many strategies that I have applied to acquire the properties I've got in my portfolio. And it all depends on what you want to do. Sometimes I bought a flat in London and I sold it because I saw the price had gone up. Sell it. I'm going to talk to about that one as well. So for me, it's all the stories behind it. Sometimes there are a learning curve, and I will explain 2 of the deals that I did where I made mistakes. I think I was still learning, right? And I think we always make mistakes, but you shouldn't be afraid of making mistakes because that's how you learn. Or at least that's how I learn. Does anyone else learn from their mistakes? Usually? Yeah, okay. I'm not the only one. All right. Now, Shakespeare Road is a flat that I bought. Well, this doesn't work. But it's just right there on the top. And it's a studio flat. It was really small. But it was a company, the Wealth Dragons. You probably have heard about them. But they were negotiating on this flat, and they said, well, we need to have the price of this flat £5,000 less. And I speak Spanish because I lived in Spain for quite a while. And this was, the owner was a Spanish opera singer who had lived in London for a long while. But he wanted to go back to Spain because his father was very ill. And so I talked to him, and it was really 2 minutes later, I had the 5,000. And I suddenly found myself buying that flat. So I had a little bit of commission to pay to the sourcer. Thank you. Right, this is a little bit the numbers. I bought in 2010 for 115,000. The price, the market value was 147. So I had a good discount there. But of course, there was a finder's fee, which was really low in my case, £1,000. So also at that time, I had forgotten to do my electoral roll, fill in my electoral roll. And it happens that then your credit rating goes down. So 2010, I couldn't find a mortgage. So I asked my daughter's boyfriend to be the mortgage host. He could get it easily. I put all the money for the deposit. And he got the mortgage. But I did pay him a new kitchen. Why not, you know? Use other people and then give them what they want. He wanted a new kitchen and it only cost me £2,000. So that was quick and easy. Now, I sold it in 2013. Yes, I'm getting confused here. But I had seen the prices rise, and my tenant, they were always LHA tenants. Now, I have nothing against housing benefit tenants, but they are more difficult to manage. And never had any voids, but I tried to call him, and he wasn't answering his phone. So I finally found out he was in prison. So I thought, okay, maybe this is a good time to do something like selling. And I was really astonished when I contacted the estate agent, and they said, well, I think we could put this flat on the market for 175. But I'm a savvy investor, so I went on Home Track and I saw 179. Oh, well, why don't we put the flat on at 180? So the estate agent said, ooh, that's a bit sharp. Anyway, there were 20 people that came to see the studio because it was actually, I had part of the freehold. So imagine, because I was on the top level, actually the person after me probably is going to go into the roof space. So look for potential, right? Always buy with things with potential. I had seen potential, but I was silly and didn't actually get the planning permission for it. But never mind, I still made a healthy profit of £76,000. That includes also the profit that I had every month of about £300 to £400, 330 there. So the win-win situation is the seller is able to move on. You can help them. The mortgage host has his new kitchen, and of course there was also a fee for the finder's fee. So everyone's happy. Let me talk to you about the next one. This is a little house that it's a maisonette, Peterborough. I've got about 11 houses and flats in Peterborough. It's close to Cambridge because I live in Cambridge, so not far. And of course, I don't have to pay these heavy prices as in Cambridge. I saw this maisonette, made an offer. It was on the market for 70,000. I made an offer of 62, which I thought was really high, but they didn't accept. 6 months later, I went to see something similar with the same estate agent. But then I said, well, have you got something? What about the flat that we went to see before? He said, oh yeah, that's still on the market. They won't accept anything below 70,000. Why is that? Because, of course, their mortgage was 70,000. So they can't go down unless they have the funds to go and pay that off. But I mean, then they would have done it. And they wanted to move closer to the parents. They had 2 kids. This is only a 2-bedroom. And so we organized an exchange with delayed completion. I'm buying at 70,000 minus any of the repayments that I've made. The repayment mortgage that is on this one is actually, I'm going to give you the financials, is quite low. It's £350 per month. So, and that's a repayment. It was for 40 years. This was a very young couple that had bought it. And so they gave them 40 years to pay this off. So I I'm only going to pay them in 7 years' time, for there's only 4 years left now, the amount that's left on the mortgage. But they're happy they were able to move on, and I'm happy because I'm making £200 a month. And on top of that, I've got the mortgage, which is going down because it's a repayment. Thank you. Good. Okay. So, win-win situation. The seller, what I didn't tell them, I wanted to be a win-win. If after 7 years I want to keep your mortgage, I'm going to give you £1,000 every year. Doesn't matter to me. In 4 years' time, the rent will have gone up, the whole property will have gone up, and I'll give them then £83 a month to get to that £1,000 benefit every year. I'm going to give that. So they were really very happy, and I think they just want me to continue with that mortgage. Now, this one, Tower Mews, is, I saw the flat. It was on the market for $49,000. So I made an offer of 37 or so. It was accepted. But then when I got the paperwork, the legal stuff, I saw that actually the plan was not drawn correctly. So the flat, the paperwork, was actually another flat. So this is what they call a variation of deeds. You have to, in order to mortgage a property like that, nobody had seen that before, right? I just thought, silly, because I could have mortgaged it, but I was unable to mortgage it. But then I said to the asset management, because this is a repossession, I said to them, yeah, but that's not worth 36 or 37,000 anymore. It's only worth 20. Well, they didn't accept 20, but they accepted 23. Now, it is a 2-bedroom flat in Leeds, and I get a very good return from it, from the rent. And I didn't have the money either, so I got someone to give me 25,000. I was paying them, because now I own it outright, but I was paying them 12% a year, which was about 250 every month. It was quite high, but on the other hand, I was able to buy it, right? It's worth 52, 53 at the moment. But in 2007, it was sold at 79, I think it was. So a big difference there due to the recession. So it took 3.5 years to do the variation of deeds. It only cost me £900, I think, because it's the flat next to mine who did all the work. And we just participated in the cost. So there you are. Definitely a good win for my investor. The 25,000, the investor was really likes to spend money like nobody's business, and so I was able to sort of keep her from spending that much for 3.5 years. This is a house, my first lease option. Has everyone heard about the lease option? So it's, you have a contract where you actually pay a rent, and at a certain moment you can compete on a purchase price that you have agreed at the beginning. So this was a house that was, in 2009, I got a sort of form, and they were about to be repossessed 10 days later. So they had bought this house 200,000. In 2009, it was only worth 145, something like that, and that was the value of their mortgage. The problem with people is that they get a second mortgage to pay for something silly like a trip, and then, of course, high interest rates. There was 11% interest rate on that second mortgage, which made it impossible for them who had lost their jobs to continue paying rent. So I got this at 145, but only what the mortgage is worth. It's a repayment mortgage. I didn't want to rock the boat in this case, and so I kept it. So it's not making me any money at all, but at the moment, instead of 145, it's only 103 or something like that. So when I complete on shortly, I will then be able to remortgage it later on for its full market value at the moment of 180. I think it's probably 190 as well. But I like this house because it's modern and I don't have many problems with repairs. This one is a rent-to-rent. I did one leaflet drop in the years that I've been investing, and 6,000, the northern part of Cambridge, and I had no replies at all. Until 3 months later, I got one reply. And this was a landlord from London. I hope he's not here, or maybe he's here, but we work together and it works very well. I've got a lease for 5 years. We're coming to the end of it now, but I include all the repairs. And it makes me about 6,000 a year. So always think laterally. He didn't want to sell because he thought, well, why should I sell on a lease option? And he didn't want to accept the offer I made, which was a little bit low. I agree. But I've got students in there, 6 students. And of course, Cambridge is a perfect place for students, right? There are quite a lot of houses at the moment where landlords want to sell because, of course, the yields are not very good. This house is probably worth about 300, but bigger houses, it's going to be very difficult to get a good yield. There you are. Okay, this one, Grosvenor Place. This is one of the stories that I didn't really do too well. I bought this house because my son was in Exeter and he had to have somewhere to live. And all of a sudden we were getting to a point where 2 of my offers had been accepted and then they withdrew the houses from the market. So we're getting to June and I still didn't have a house. So I went up a bracket and bought this one for 268. And I thought I had done really well because I had asked for a discount of £2,000. Anyway, it doesn't really matter too much because at that time the mortgages were really good. And now I think we're paying $495 per month, but the mortgage is $225,000, right? So really very good because it makes me a good income. But it wasn't buying really well, right? It doesn't matter sometimes. But those types of houses are very good if you can take them over on a lease option, on a rent, to buy in the future. This one was the flip. So I bought it at a really good price. It was on the market for 89. I bought it at 66 because there was a first buyer who fell or didn't complete, and then I came in, and you have to be sometimes a little bit drastic. Thank you. About it. So I only made a profit of 8,000, so that wasn't my best thing. But so there you are. There you are. What about the future? So who knows? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But I think that there are 2 things here. We need more accommodation in the UK. Many people want to come here. We're a creative. Okay, I'm not British, but I do admire the creativity, the drive, the amazing inventions, right? All the time coming up. Excellent actors as well. So we have to keep this long-term vision. Always think about what is going to happen and make plans. I've been doing plans now for the last week. So 3 things here. Income generating. Don't get involved in things that have a yield of 3%. What happens when interest rates are going to go up? You're not going to be able to cash flow. That's really an important one. Have a great power team. And that's super important. I have been able to go up a level now because I've got an excellent assistant at home who does everything. And that's really, really important. And think outside the box. When you see a problem, solve it. Or get other people to solve it. Why not participate with others? There is one thing, and the most important thing, that I think every one of you, and I think we should really say it out loud. don't wait to buy property. Buy property and wait. So can you please say it with me? Don't wait to buy property and wait. Perfect. There you are. So that's the end for me. I just want to say one thing is I am going to organize a workshop, a free workshop, about investing in Cambridge. So if you want to come to that in March, please